you brought this up and even made videos about it, about this mysterious thing that we have called our dome of vision, right? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I call it the personal atmospheric dome or the PAD. And here's the thing I think people miss is that this is not a theory. It's not an idea. It's the truth. It's a fact. And you can figure that out on your own by just simply knowing that if you look up, that's the least amount of atmosphere that there is right above you, straight above your head. So if any light is coming directly down from straight above you, that has the least amount of refraction. It has the least amount of effects. Those rays are going to come at you parallel if the sun's right above you. And then if you look to your left or right or straight ahead of you or behind you, that is the most amount of atmosphere. So right away you can tell if the least amount of atmosphere is above you and the most is to your sides. That creates a personal atmospheric dome. We all see through it. No matter where you're at on the earth, no matter North Pole, South Pole, wherever you might be, you exist inside of a personal atmospheric dome where everything renders to you. So nothing can just appear in the sky. It all has to come from far away. So that's why we see things come up from the horizon line, right? And so this is a dome. We see as a dome. And if you think of the sky being a plane above you, so a plane of stars above you, as things get further, since you're looking through more and more atmospheric distortion to see them, things appear to bend down towards the horizon line. And so that's the personal atmospheric dome. And when you understand that, then you realize that no matter where you're at on Earth, you see the sun rise to the east of your personal atmospheric dome and set in the west. And so people get very tripped up and they say, well, what about in the south? Isn't it the opposite? Where it's just, no, they are looking north. And so things rise on their right and set on their left, whereas us in the north, we look south and things rise on our left and set on our right. So it is a personal atmospheric dome. And then you have to learn to understand that. So many people get caught up in the idea of here's the fooling part. You live in a personal atmospheric dome. That's what you live in. That's what you see things through. They convince the world that there is another personal atmospheric dome below you with somebody living upside down inside it. And that's the biggest, fooling point of the entire thing is that no, you exist in your personal atmospheric dome. That's how you see things. When you watch a plane fly off into the distance, it doesn't just fly straight up and then disappear into the clouds. It goes down towards the horizon. That's the way everything works. Just like the sun sets, just like the moon sets, just like the sun rises, just like the moon rises, just like a plane coming over the horizon, as you might term that, but just means it's coming from far away. I can't see planes from where I live leaving the San Francisco airport. It's too far. But as things get closer to me, I would see them appear not out of the middle of the sky, but from the horizon line, because it's finally rendering itself to me. It's big enough to come into my personal atmospheric dome. And that's the way the entire world works around you. It's hard to explain, I guess, the personal atmospheric dome for people to get, but one visual that I thought was really good is if you picture a really foggy day, so it's extremely foggy, and you're at a train station and you're reading the train schedule, and you would only be able to see, let's say, you can only see your own train schedule. You're looking at it, and if you look any further, it's too foggy to see. So, but if you think about there being 10 other people at this train station at the same time, and everybody's looking at their own little document, well, they can read their own little train schedule, but to all of them, they can't see the other people around them. That's how the Earth works. That's how our atmosphere works. That when it's clogged up, like when it's foggy, you can't see very far. When it's clear, you can see a little bit further. But that's the same thing, is that we know that people exist, or other people are at this train station, other people are reading their train schedule. But in your personal atmospheric dome that's fogged in, to you, you're all that exists. You look left, right, behind you, in front of you, and that it's all blocked. But we know that those other people exist. It's the same thing when two people on flat Earth are standing near each other, maybe 4 or 5 miles away, but to each other, the horizon ends before you can see the other person.
Right. So like if I'm looking off towards the horizon and I see the blue sky and the clouds towards the horizon, the clouds in the distance look like they're stacked on top of each other, basically. And if I were to picture myself as a person that's directly underneath those clouds in the distance, they would look back in my direction and see the blue sky with all the clouds stacked on top of where I'm at. And so it is very much a subjective sort of personal atmosphere that we all live within. We don't necessarily see it or understand that it's there, but it's almost like we're all walking around with our own little like you said, personal atmospheric dome. I mean, that's really the best way to put it. That travels you around wherever you go to varying degrees depending on the weather, really, right?
Yeah. You remember, John, me and you were saying this back 2 years ago when we were talking about being on, I believe it was a pool table, and saying that each person had like a glass, a glass you would drink water out of, upside down above them.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's really the way it works, and you're absolutely right. Same thing with colors. When you watch a sunset and you see that the clouds near where the sun is setting are red or purple or pink and looking really pretty, if somebody is that distance away from you underneath those clouds, they don't see those colors. It's a very, very personal thing. You see the colors of the sunset because of the clouds and the atmosphere you're looking through. Somebody who's standing underneath that cloud would look straight up and see nothing but a cloud. Wouldn't be red or anything because that's not rendering for them in that color.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem with the ball earth theory going back in history, is people failed to sort of jump outside of their own heads to see, how would things look without the atmosphere. But refraction really wasn't even understood until the 1600s, but it appears the ball earth theory had already taken hold at that point. But nobody went back to revisit, this assumption that light must always travel in straight lines, but we know that it absolutely does not.
Yeah, I totally agree with I'm looking at the chat right now, and I saw that Flat Earth Logic says everybody who has a smartphone camera should post a video of this observation with a limited viewing angle. It's very simple. You could do it on a long street. You could do it in a warehouse like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and you can easily see this. And the argument that I've heard from ballers is hilarious. They're calling people morons and saying it can't possibly happen because their model shows it doesn't. And then their claim is that the road or the floor that we're doing these observations on is bumpy. It's curved.